Lesson 7, I will measure and draw angles. So this lesson is just going to connect to what you did in Lesson 6, and we're going to continue to learn how to use a protractor. You will not need your math journal for this lesson, but you will need a protractor. All right, so the very first page in your math set is a practice sheet, and we're going to use this instead of using our math journal today. And I want you to take a look. You can see I've got my protractor here. I want you to take a look at angle I want you to take a look at angle XYZ right here. Take a look at this angle. And I want you to take just a second to try to see if you can't line up your protractor to try to measure XYZ. And then come back and let's see if we have the same measurement. Okay, so let's check how you lined up your protractor. So remember that this circle has to be on the vertex of the angle, and this is the vertex of our angle, and this is the base of our angle, so we have to set it right on there. So when you take a look, first of all, you're going to notice that this ray does not extend all the way to the protractor. So if you remember from the last lesson, it's always a good idea to take your protractor and extend this ray so that it goes long enough so that you can see exactly where the angle measures. Okay, so you can see that this angle is either 139 degrees or it's 41 degrees. But by looking at this angle, I can see that it is definitely an acute angle. And I know that 141 degrees would not be an acute angle. So the measurement of this angle would be 41 degrees because that's the only acute measurement. So it would be 41 degrees. Okay, see if you can't measure figure 2 and then come back and see if you got the same thing as me. Okay? All right, so let's take a second here. And I'm going to have to rotate my protractor. So here's the vertex. Obviously, if I left it like this, I could not possibly measure my angle. So I'm going to have to rotate my protractor. So it has to be so that it can set right on the angle. It's a little easier for you to do this than it is me, so bear with me. All right, so I can see already that mine is just not, might be okay. All right, so again, I see that this is either 44 or 136. But because this angle is acute, it cannot be over 90 degrees. So the only measurement that this could possibly be would be 44 degrees. Now, if you said something like 45 degrees or 46 degrees, something like that, that would be close enough, okay? Sometimes it's hard to get it exactly correct because I may even be wrong. All right, so let's take a look at the next figure. So we've got figure DEF. Now, the first thing I notice about this angle is that it is obviously obtuse. I want you to try to measure this angle by yourself and then come back and let's check and see if our measurements compare. Okay? All right, so when I put this on the vertex and I set it right on the line, it is, this is kind of a wide one, isn't it? So it looks like it is either 121 degrees or it's 59 degrees. So what do you think? Is it 121 or is it 59? Well, because it is obtuse, I hope you said 121 degrees. Again, if you measured this by yourself and you said it was about 120 degrees or 119, you were a couple degrees off, that would be okay. All right, now the next thing I want you to notice is figure 4. Now notice the arch. The arch is going this way, not this way. So I want you to think for a minute, how would you measure this? How would you line up your protractor? First of all, you have to think about what you know about a circle. How many degrees are in an entire circle? Well, I hope you said 360 degrees in this entire circle. So if I started here and went all the way around, it would be 360 degrees. Now, if I take a look at this protractor, if I try to line it up right here, it's not going to tell me anything because there's no way this angle's 0 degrees and it won't go far enough. But what I could do is I could say, okay, well, this is a straight line. So that is 180 degrees. I could do it that way. And then I could measure this little angle right here. I could break it up into 2 angles. Or I could do this. I could measure the angle that it's not asking me to measure like this. I'm trying to turn this around. It's a little bit hard. Okay, so see if this makes sense to you. Okay, so I can put this right here. And I'm going to measure this side of the angle. Okay, now it's obvious that this is an obtuse angle, a measuring angle QRS. And it is about, I'm going to go ahead and try to line this up perfectly. Let's just say it is 130 degrees. Okay, so let's think about that for a minute. If QRS is 130 degrees and the entire circle is 360 degrees, what does this have to be? Well, this has to be whatever 360 minus 130 degrees equals, which would be 230 degrees. So angle QRS, this side, would be 230 degrees. Okay, and if that's a little bit confusing to you right now, that's okay. This is just your practice set, and we're going to work on this just a little bit more as we get into the lesson a little bit deeper. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at our problem set. And remember, this lesson is all about drawing and measured angles. So you're going to have a chance to draw some angles as well as measure angles. Now, if you'll take a look at the directions here, it says construct angles that measure the given number of degrees. For A through D, use the ray shown as one of the rays of the angle with its endpoint as the vertex of the angle. Draw an arc to indicate the angle that was measured. Okay, so first of all, what they're saying here is they've given you a ray to begin with. So your vertex cannot be on the end with the arrow, obviously. It has to be on this end. So this is going to be my vertex. So if I put this right on the end, and you can see my little cross, so this would be 0 degrees. So if I want an angle that is 30 degrees, I would take my pencil and I would come to 30 degrees and I would put a mark like this. Okay? Then you can take your protractor and you can turn it like this, and you can use it as a straight edge. So you're going to create an angle from your vertex to the place that you just drew the line. Then you're going to take your pencil and you're going to trace this line. I'm going to do this the best I can. Now notice, I'm not going to use this as a straight edge. Yours is going to be nice and straight. So you take your pencil and run it right up along the protractor. It'll make a nice straight line for you. Now this isn't straight for me because I'm just kind of freehanding it. And then whenever you do that, you will have an angle that's 30 degrees. Now you want to check to see if it is 30 degrees. So let's put it back the way it goes. Now mine's going to be pretty ugly. Hopefully yours came out nice and straight. So I'm going to put it like this. And now, if this line was nice and straight, you would see that it is a 30-degree angle. So the next thing it says to do is to draw an arc to show where it's measured. So we're going to draw an arc on this side of the angle to show that this is 30 degrees. If we drew it this way, remember it would be 360 degrees minus 30 degrees. This would be 330 degrees, but we just want the inside, okay? All right, now you'll notice that this ray is going the opposite direction. So I'm going to put my protractor on this end, and I'm going to read my protractor starting with this as 0 this time. So I'm going to 65. So I'm not going to come over here and put 65 because this would make an obtuse angle of 125. I need this 65. So I'm going 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65. So take your pencil and put a mark at where 65 degrees is, just like this. And then you're going to take your protractor and use it as a straight edge. So you're going to turn it from the vertex. So you're going to make a nice straight line from the vertex to the angle like this. It's a lot easier for you than it is me. And then you're going to take your pencil and trace right along the edge of the protractor to make yourself a nice straight line. Okay? This time I'm going to cheat a little bit and use my line so that mine doesn't look as messy as the last one. So you're going to come right straight through here. And then we are ready to draw the arrows on the end and our arc. Now before I'm finished, I want to test this angle. So I'm going to come back over here with this protractor. I'm going to turn it back the right way, and I'm going to line it up again, and I'm going to measure this angle and see if it is indeed 65 degrees. Pretty close, pretty close. It looks like it's closer. Well, it looks about right. Kind of hard to see if it's 65 or 66, but it's pretty close. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so again, they've given us a ray, and we're going to make an angle that's 115 degrees. So I'm going to put this on the vertex like this. I'm going to turn it sideways. Now I'm going to have to kind of shift this over a little bit so that we can see. Okay, now So 115 degrees. So if this is 0, so I go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, this would be 115, not 65. 65 would be if I was starting the other direction. All right, so here's my 115. Again, you're going to use your protractor to make a straight line. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I can't make a straight line with mine. And you're going to start at the vertex, and you're going to connect the vertex to the place that you drew the point. And then we're going to draw arrows to make a ray. And then I'm going to draw my arc. All right, now I'm going to measure my angle to see if it is indeed 115 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to set it back on here, line it up. Very close. All right, see if you can't make this one 135 degrees all by yourself. Okay, so I'm going to line up my protractor around the vertex just like this, and I'm looking for 135 degrees. So if this is 0, and I say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 100, 110, 120, 130, here is my 135. So you take your pencil and you make a mark for 135 right here. And then we're going to use our protractor as a straight edge so that we can make the second part of our angle so that we have two rays that are attached to the vertex. So I'm going to use my line tool so it looks nice and straight, starting here and go right straight down to the vertex. Then I want you to make sure that you remeasure your angle to make sure that it is indeed 135. So you can see that that's 135. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to draw my arc so that it's obvious which part of the angle I want to measure. And then I'm going to draw my arrows to make it a ray. Okay? All right, so let's keep going here. So now you'll notice that when you get to the back side of this paper, they've no longer given you the ray, the base. So you have to decide which way you want your angle to open. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is use your protractor as a straight edge. Okay? And I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to show you what that would look like. Now remember, I can't draw a nice straight line, but you're going to trace right along your protractor just like this to make a nice straight line. Now, obviously that's not straight, but yours will be straight because you're going to use your protractor, and I can't really trace along it. All right, so now I'm going to pretend that I'm tracing the bottom of this protractor, even though we know I'm not, okay? So you're going to make a nice straight line just like this, and then you're going to put your protractor on the vertex. My line didn't turn out exactly straight. All right, now I'm going to make this 5 degrees. So it looks like, well, it doesn't look like it is. If my base is on 0, I'm going to start with 0 and I'm going to go up 5 degrees. So this is going to be a very tiny angle. So if this is 0 and this is 10, then right here has to be 5. So you're going to mark 5, and then again, you're going to do the exact same process as you did before. You're just going to use your protractor as a straight edge, and you're going to draw a line connecting that dot, and then you're going to remeasure to make sure that it is indeed 5 degrees, and then you're going to draw your arc to show the opening. Okay, so 5 degrees is a very tiny opening, so it's not going to be much of an angle. All right, so now we have 175 degrees, so we're kind of going from one extreme to the other. So again, you're going to take your protractor and you're going to decide which way you want your to open. I'm going to have mine actually open this way this time because I know this is going to be a really large angle, and my arrow is actually going to be going the wrong way. Okay, that's okay, we'll fix it. All right, so now we have, and you can see that my arrow is going the wrong way. I'm going to turn that into a vertex, okay, because I don't want to have to redo that. And my arrow actually is going this way. All right, so now you take your protractor and you put it right on the vertex. And I want this to be 175 degrees. So if this is 0, and I'm going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 30, 140, 150, 160, 170, 175. It's going to be all the way over here. And then you're going to take your protractor and use it as a straight edge again and connect your vertex to the point that you drew. Okay, and then recheck it. Put your protractor back on there and see if it is indeed 175 degrees, and you can see that it is. And now I'm going to use my pencil to draw the arc. Okay, so again, this is almost a straight line, because if you remember, a straight line is 180 degrees, and this is almost 180 degrees. Okay, All right, so now we're going to do 27 degrees. So if you want to pause the video and try to draw yours and see if yours looks like mine, and we'll see if you can draw 27 degrees all by yourself. All right, so what you're going to do is start again with your ray. It doesn't matter which way you have yours open. I'm going to have mine open this way, and then I'm going to reposition my protractor so that it's sitting right on the vertex, and I'm going to go up 27 degrees. So you can see that this is 0, 10, 20, and then this long line is 25, so 26, 27 is going to be just a little bit more than 27. And then you're going to use your straight edge and connect from the vertex to the line, and then draw your arch. And yours should be very similar to mine. Now, if yours ended up being a big obtuse angle, you know what you did. That means that you used the wrong 27. But 27 degrees should be an acute angle, so it should be very close to looking like mine. All right, so now we're going to draw an angle that's 117 degrees. So again, let's take our protractor. I'm going to have mine open this direction this time, and I'm going to make the 0 here instead of over here this time. So I'm going to start by positioning this. Now, since this is my 0, I've got to start counting on this side. So I go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 115, 116, 117. So it's going to be right up here this time, about right here. And then I'm going to connect that with a ray. So draw your ray from your vertex to the point, and then we're going to draw an arc to show that this is the part of the angle that we want to open. Okay. All right, so now we're going to draw one that's 48 degrees. So again, you're going to start with your base ray. I'm going to have this one going this way. You could have yours going any way you want it to, but I just like to make it go this way. So now I'm going to start wherever your base ray is where you start with 0. So since it starts on this side, I start counting on this side. So 10, 20, 30, 40. And then I'm going to go, if this is 45, then it's going to be 46, 47, 48. It's going to be almost 50. So that's my dot. And I'm just going to connect it with my vertex. Recheck it to make sure it is 48 and not 58. That's a very common mistake. Kids will put it on this side instead of on this side, or they'll put it on this side and think it's 48, but it's not. It's right here. And then this is my arch, okay? All right, now we're going to make another ray that's 132 degrees. So when they're really obtuse like this, I like to open them the opposite direction. I'm sure you could probably tell. Just for fun, though, I think I'll open it this way this time. So I'm going to go start with my 0 line there. And now I'm going to, oops, if this is 0, I have to start counting on this side. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, and then 131, 132 would be right there. And I'm just going to connect that. Use your protractor to make a nice straight line, connecting the vertex to your point. And draw my arc to show that this is the side that I'm measuring. And it is a nice obtuse angle, and it is indeed 132 degrees. Okay, so we used our protractor to measure and to draw angles. Remember that using a protractor takes a lot of practice, so if you're still not perfect at it, don't be too hard on yourself. You just keep at it until you finally get it right.